Farrah Fawcett, the woman who once made the world admire her with her golden hair, sexy body, and heart-melting smile. But do you know, behind the halo, what remained around her was not admiration, but the cold darkness of fame, betrayal, and love that turned into nightmares. Follow us to find out more little-known and shocking information about her, because on her hospital bed, she was surrounded by a drug-addict son in handcuffs, an abusive ex-husband, and an obsessive lover who had long lost control. That was not the end of a star. That was the truth that Hollywood wanted to bury forever. And in today's video, we will tell you the truth about her. And meanwhile, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new untold stories about Hollywood stars. Smash that like button and hit the notification bell. Farrah Fawcett was born on February 2, 1947 in Corpus Christi, Texas, a small coastal town where the sun and wind blend together to create the typical light of the American South. From the moment she was born, her mother named her Farrah. Not a Christian name, not a family name. She once said, "It sounds like sunlight glinting off metal." And it was true throughout Farrah's life that light was both a gift and a curse. From high school, Farrah became the center of attention. She was not only beautiful, she also shone in a way that made people stop and stare. Every year, Corpus Christi High School held a vote for the title of Most Beautiful Student. And for 4 years in a row, the winner never changed: Farrah Fawcett. However, what makes people love her is not only her beauty, but also her kindness, humility, and willingness to help others. When entering the University of Texas, many people thought she would choose art or acting, but Farrah chose sculpture, a choice that surprised all her friends. "She's so beautiful. Why is she studying sculpture?" they joked. But Farrah was very serious. She really loved the shapes, loved the way people created artistic shapes. Then one fateful day, a photographer at the school took some portraits of Farrah for an art exhibition. The light, the smile, and the eyes in those photos changed Farrah's life forever. Somehow, those photos made their way to modeling agencies in Los Angeles. Among hundreds of other young faces, one man, David Mirisch, a manager with a sharp eye, stopped for a long time in front of her photo. He said, "As soon as I saw the picture, I knew she was a star." She didn't have to say a word. Mirisch started calling, sending letters, trying to convince her to leave Texas and go to Los Angeles. But Farrah hesitated. Texas was too peaceful and Hollywood was too far away and full of traps. She was afraid that the bright lights would burn her. Then her parents, two gentle farmers, but with strong faith in their daughter, told her something she would never forget. "Go, Farrah. If you fail, Texas is still here." That sentence was like a farewell as well as a blessing. In May 1968, Farrah Fawcett left Texas. In her hands was only a suitcase. In her heart was a sky full of hope. Farrah Fawcett boarded a plane to Los Angeles, not knowing that this trip would not only change her life forever, but would leave its mark on American pop culture for decades to come. She stayed at the Hollywood Studio Club, a haven that had nurtured the careers of countless young actresses before her. The faces that had passed through this place would later become legends. Marilyn Monroe, Rita Moreno, Kim Novak, and now Farrah, a blonde girl from Texas, was taking her first steps on the path that so many had dreamed of. During the day, she ran around the city for auditions. At night, she sat by the phone, calling her mother. "Mom, everyone here is beautiful," she said. "But I think I can do this." She learned to do her own hair, her own makeup, how to pose, how to look into the camera while still maintaining her innocence. Before long, Screen Gem Studios spotted her among hundreds of people. From there, Farrah became a familiar face for dozens of brands, shampoo, perfume, and even swimsuits, gradually becoming an icon of America. In the 1970s, in the early uncertain days of her career, a chance encounter shaped much of her life. A man named Lee Major. The fateful encounter happened on a sunny afternoon in Los Angeles. She was sitting at a small cafe on Sunset Boulevard when a man approached to say hello. His name was Lee Major, the rising actor known as Blonde Elvis. And when Farrah looked up, he stopped. His smile lit up the room. They talked, laughed, and by the end of that meeting, Major knew he wouldn't let her go. Their love affair quickly blossomed and became the center of Hollywood. The press called them America's golden couple. But beneath the halo, Farrah was still just a new girl in the city, naive and full of ambition. Major, on the other hand, was already a household name thanks to the $6 Million Man. Lee Major advised her to turn to cinema. He believed that with her beauty and naturalness, Farrah could become more than just a model, but a real movie star. And the opportunity came sooner than she thought. In 1970, Farrah was cast in Myra Breenidge, a daring adaptation of Gore Vidal's controversial novel. The film brought together two big stars, Raquel Welch and the legendary Mae West. For Farrah, this was the first door to entering cinema. But instead, it became Farrah's first professional mistake. From the very first day on set, she was caught in a power struggle between two senior actresses. Mae West, not wanting to be overshadowed, ordered Farrah to dye her hair brown. Immediately after, Raquel Welch objected, demanding that she return to blonde. The young girl was pulled back and forth between the big egos of Hollywood, only able to endure in silence. After that, the film was released and failed miserably. The press ridiculed. The audience was indifferent. She was not bitter, just quietly learning to stand up. Her love for Lee Majors was still her support. They married, and Farrah officially took his last name, Farrah Fawcett Majors. But her career troubles were not over yet. In 1976, photographer Bruce McBroom invited her to do a swimsuit photo shoot. Farrah arrived at the studio without a makeup artist, without a large crew like other stars. She brought only a comb, a can of beer, and her smile. Without a mirror, she combed her hair by feel, brushing back the wind-blown curls. She told Bruce, "Just let me be myself." The photo shoot consisted of 40 photos. Farrah chose 6, and only one was chosen to be printed. The photo of her in a red swimsuit, her radiant smile, which became iconic and would go down in history. No one expected that the photo would sell over 12 million copies, become the most famous poster in the world, and turn Farrah Fawcett into the sex symbol of the 1970s. It was more than just a picture of a beautiful woman. It was a picture of confidence, independence, and freedom. Farrah, with her sun-kissed hair and natural smile, embodied that spirit perfectly. However, fame often comes from the most unexpected turns. That opportunity came when producer Aaron Spelling saw her playing tennis in Beverly Hills. He couldn't take his eyes off her. "That's my angel," Spelling said. The name of the show at the time was Charlie's Angels. The show starred 3 actresses, Farrah Fawcett, Kate Jackson, and Jacqueline Smith, as talented, charming private detectives. Among them, Farrah quickly became America's most beloved angel, but even more famous than her character was her hair. And indeed, when Charlie's Angels aired in 1976, the whole of America went crazy. 3 beautiful, intelligent women dressed in fashionable clothes and solved crimes like real spies. In an interview, Fawcett joked, "When the show ranked 3rd, I thought it was because of our acting, but when it reached number 1, I realized it was probably because none of us were wearing bras." That joke perfectly captured the spirit of Charlie's Angels. Bold, provocative, and unforgettable. While the public loved the three angels, the critics were less than sympathetic. They coined the term rock TV, a derisive label that mocked shows that relied more on women's looks than on content. But no one cared. Millions watched the show, turning Charlie's Angels into a global phenomenon and catapulting Farrah Fawcett to instant superstardom. But behind the smile was a different reality. Her salary was half that of her co-stars. She earned half as much as her co-star Kate Jackson. Even though Farrah's image was plastered all over magazine covers, coffee mugs, and t-shirts, she only received 2% of the massive profits from merchandise sales. Yet, despite her fame, she was still treated like a product. Fawcett knew her true worth far exceeded the $10,000 per episode ABC was paying her, so she turned it down. Fawcett asked for $75,000 per episode and 10% of the merchandising profits. But before the negotiations could be finalized, she began to lose interest in Charlie's Angels. She wanted to be seen as a serious actress, not just a sex symbol. When ABC noticed she was turning down every new project, they realized she was planning an escape. The problem was that her contract was still binding. Fawcett argued that she had started filming before she had officially signed, which meant she had the right to back out. ABC disagreed, and so a fierce legal battle began. Between the 2 seasons of Charlie's Angels, negotiations dragged on for weeks in a tense atmosphere. While lawyers from both sides argued endlessly, Fawcett quietly sought new opportunities in the film industry. She was on track to land the lead role in Foul Play, a romantic comedy opposite the funny man Chevy Chase when things fell apart. ABC threatened to sue any studio that dared to hire her. Horrified, the producers immediately backed out and gave the role to Goldie Hawn. The loss devastated Fawcett. Her dream of making it in the movies, so close she could almost reach it, slipped away. Finally, to escape the network's clutches, she had no choice but to return to the negotiating table and accept even harsher terms. She eventually landed the lead role in Somebody Killed Harris opposite Jeff Bridges. Expectations were high, and the film was sold for over $1 million before its release. Many believed it would be the successful launch of the Blonde Angels cast's film careers, but when it was released, it was a flop. Critics panned it mercilessly. One headline even sarcastically read, "Someone killed her career." It wasn't the debut Fawcett had envisioned for her post-Charlie's Angels era, and tragically, the fallout was only just beginning. After leaving Charlie's Angels, Farrah was desperate to be recognized, not just for her blonde hair or her radiant smile, but for her genuine acting talent. So, in 1979, she took a chance on Sunburn, a film she hoped would mark a major turning point in her career. But instead of a rebirth, it turned out to be a painful fall. Sunburn was a box office disaster, and Farrah Fawcett's name suddenly became synonymous with a fading star. Unwilling to give up, Fawcett moved on to her next project, Saturn III. Along with Hollywood legend Kirk Douglas, she was built into a star thanks to her Charlie's Angels fame and iconic red swimsuit poster. But that fame came at a cost. The producers forced her to perform a nude scene which left her embarrassed and helpless. The tension was made worse when the director was abruptly fired mid-production. Douglas, known for his large ego, took over directing duties himself, turning the set into a chaotic pressure cooker. In one disturbing scene, he smeared dirt on Farrah's body to create a sense of realism, insisting it was necessary for the art. For Fawcett, it was one of the most humiliating experiences of her entire career. But the pain didn't stop there. When Saturn III hit theaters, critics panned it. They called her performance shallow, her character soulless, and the film itself a cosmic disaster. Fawcett received a Ricci nomination for Worst Actress, a blow to someone who had been the golden girl of television. She was even honored with 2 Stinker Award nominations, as if Hollywood itself were conspiring to push her aside. Meanwhile, her once perfect marriage to Lee Major was falling apart. The days she took off work for health reasons were, in fact, days she couldn't bear the weight of her collapsing personal life. Finally, in 1982, the couple divorced, closing one of the most painful chapters in Farrah Fawcett's life. Having lost both her career and her marriage, Fawcett tried to reinvent herself with a supporting role in The Cannonball Run, an action comedy that featured some of Hollywood's biggest stars. Ironically, instead of helping her shed the sex symbol label, the film drags her back into the image she's been yearning to escape. Once again, she was nominated for a Razzie Award, and it seemed that all of Hollywood thought Farrah Fawcett was only worthy of beauty. But she refused to let her past define her. When the film industry turned its back on her, she returned to where it all began: television. In 1981, Murder in Texas marked a cautious but promising return. Audiences warmly welcomed the film, and for the first time in years, people stopped mocking her. They began to see more than just a pretty face, but a woman determined to prove her worth. Then, in 1984, she took on the lead role in The Burning Bed, a drama based on the true story of a woman who, after years of domestic violence, set her bed on fire while her husband was still in it. The raw emotional intensity of her performance marked a bold and radical departure from her past, glamorous roles. Critics and audiences alike were stunned. One critic called it one of the greatest television dramas ever made. Fawcett's haunting performance earned her a Primetime Emmy nomination, finally cementing her status as a serious actress. It was a huge step forward for her career. Yet behind that radiant smile, the one that once lit up every screen, were deep emotional cracks. It was those wounds that allowed her to bring such brutal honesty to her roles as broken, resilient women. Because in real life, Farrah herself had endured years of heartbreak and turmoil in her relationship with actor Ryan O'Neal. Their on-again, off-again love story spanned nearly 2 decades from 1979 to 1997. The film itself is full of breakups and reconciliations. They had a son together, Redmond James O'Neal, born in 1985, the product of their love, but also the bond that bound them together through shared suffering. Farrah was at the height of her fame, while O'Neal was drowning in his own grief. She discovered he was having an affair with model Leslie Ann Stevenson, and instead of feeling remorse, he coldly justified it by saying that Stevenson was like a daughter to him. When confronted, O'Neal blamed the woman who loved him so much, claiming that Fawcett's body had lost its attractiveness with age. For someone once hailed as the embodiment of beauty, those words were a deep, searing wound. The relationship fell apart, but the pain it left behind became the inspiration for some of her most powerful performances. Women who fell but refused to lie down. Despite the pain, Fawcett found a new artistic identity in portraying real women, survivors, warriors, truth-tellers. She proved herself to be more than just a blonde angel, but a serious, fearless actress. And then she did the unexpected. She agreed to pose for Hugh Hefner's Men's Magazine. At 50, Farrah Fawcett wanted to prove that age can never stifle a woman's appeal. In a daring photo shoot accompanied by an experimental video art, she used her own body as a paintbrush, painting free-flowing, expressive strokes on a canvas. Part artistic statement, part declaration of women's right to live authentically. But the world has never been kind to women who dare to be different. When she appeared on the David Letterman show to promote the project, the audience barely recognized the radiant star they once admired. Fawcett took the stage looking nervous, her speech hesitant and disjointed. Although her words made sense, Her gestures seemed strange, fueling rumors that she was under the influence of drugs. The tabloids pounced on her, tearing her image apart. The woman who once captivated America was now being ridiculed on live television. Fawcett publicly denied the allegations, but no one really understood what was going on inside her.